Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all to another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. You know, normally this show is about connecting with the small businesses and medium-sized businesses in our community who are giving back and doing philanthropic good work. We love doing that show, but today I wanted to take just a little bit different of a tact. We have with us in the studio my friend Doug Howard. Doug is with the Front Door Agency. And today we're going to talk a little bit about youth homelessness in our community and some of the new and innovative approaches being taken in our community and at Front Door to address youth homelessness. So Doug, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good seeing you again, my friend.
Likewise.
Absolutely. So I'm glad we got a chance to do this today. We've been working together on this in this space for quite a while. You've been at it even longer than, well, quite a bit longer than myself. But this is how we first met, actually. And so maybe taking our viewers back to sort of the early days of how our community has been addressing the need to abate homeless youth situations in our community, how to deal with those issues, and then where we're at today and what we think things are going to look like moving forward. So you actually started out in this space with the school district, right? As a youth homelessness liaison, is that right?
Yeah. So I came into the Nashua community. I started out working with the Nashua School District, and I was kind of loaned out from a different community partner. But I was working in the school district to address the needs of youth experiencing homelessness within the schools. So I covered all schools within the district, and the idea was to engage and identify youth that lacked fixed, regular, or adequate nighttime residence, including those living doubled up due to loss of housing, economic hardship, or a similar reason.
Yeah, and so I know that some of those definitions, some of the things you just threw out, that was a lot actually in one sentence to unpack all that. I think I'm able to follow that, but we're going to step back and talk a little bit about it. Okay. So first of all, those definitions you threw out there, like doubled up, for example, those aren't typically the traditional definitions of homelessness, right?
Yes and no. So under HUD's definition, HUD typically likes to identify individuals that are experiencing homelessness as like in car, on street, in shelter, the traditional, what people usually identify as someone who's experiencing homelessness. Unfortunately, that's not the only way people experience homelessness in our country and in our community. And for the vast majority of young people in our community and around our country, they're really, a lot of them are living doubled up, precariously housed in situations where, they put the milk on the wrong shelf in a friend's fridge where they're couch surfing and it's out the door. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of young people just, not in safe situations and, really at the mercy of whoever they're staying with in the moment. And
that can be very precarious and certainly can also be something which puts young people at risk of sort of, for lack of a better word, bad things happening,
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of risk involved in that. Working in other spaces with youth experiencing homelessness, a lot of risky behaviors, with someone who might say, I have a safe place to stay in exchange for X, Y, or Z, which again can put a lot of young people in really dangerous spots.
Yeah, and so your job with the school district as our liaison was to help people who were still enrolled in school with connecting to resources, that type of thing.
Yeah, the idea behind the liaison within the school district is that every district in the country is supposed to have a McKinney-Vento liaison, and their role is to ensure that all youth, regardless of what their living situations are, have equal access to educational opportunities and extracurricular activities, and have an equitable way of, getting to school, making sure that every student has access to 2 meals a day. Because how are you going to pay attention to math class if you haven't had breakfast or lunch? Like, Timmy doesn't care what 1 + 1 equals if they haven't had a meal and a safe place to sleep in a couple of days.
Yeah. Most of the kids that you dealt with, were they typically with their families or with a caregiver or on their own?
There was a mix. So a lot of the young people typically under the age of 18 were typically with their families. Now there are times when we did have a young person under the age of 18 who was literally on their own. So, maybe a young man or a young woman, they're couch surfing with their family. They may have lost their housing situation with their family, and wherever they're staying, the next place where they're staying might not have enough space for all of them.
Right.
And mom or dad or, the family have to make a difficult choice. Like, you're the oldest, you got to go. So.
Yeah. Did you ever also work with people over the age of 18 in that role?
I did. So there are definitely still young people within the school district who are over 18. And
right.
There were definitely times when I would be introduced to a young person, a guidance counselor, or someone within the school district that the youth felt comfortable around would introduce me. And they would say to me, "Hey, I didn't want to say anything. I've been on my own for, 3, 4, 5 months, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to get my people in trouble."
Gotcha. Yeah. Pretty scary, I think, for a young person, also over 18, to be in those situations.
Oh, yeah.
So now, dial forward a couple of years. You're in a different role. Mm-hmm. You're with the Front Door Agency now,
yep.
which is traditionally been an organization that's worked mostly with adults, and now is with yourself working in this space also of addressing youth homelessness. And I think the current program that you're working on is up to the age of 25. Is that right?
Yes. So the age out would be 25. So at Front Door, so my program at Front Door, we provide a variety of services, but the housing stability program, I can work with anybody. So it could be single individuals, intact families, young, old, don't matter who. We typically provide security deposits, some rental assistance, landlord mediation. We try to make sure that if somebody is already housed, but they're going through something serious, we want to make sure that we're avoiding evictions at all costs. We want to, make sure that people have heat on in the winter. So we're doing a lot of utility assistance. And then for individuals who are actually, experiencing literal homelessness, helping them get back into housing as quickly and efficiently as possible. For our Youth Homeless Demonstration Project, that is specific to young people 18 to 24 and the age out at 25.
At the age of 25.
Yeah.
So that's a new grant. That's something new for our community. Mm-hmm. I know we've worked together on that, and a lot of other community partners have kind of had input into that process. So I'm just gonna, maybe we'll just banter back and forth about what is YHDP and how did this come to be. And
sure.
I mean, I'll say this, I think the YHDP Youth Homeless Demonstration Project is one of HUD's more innovative programs. I really like it because it asks a community to address the needs of the youth population, however the community feels it's most appropriate in their own context to do that. And in our case, our community was awarded a grant of somewhere around $2 million for a couple of years worth of work to stand up programs to address this need.
Yeah, so we're getting, it's going to be 1.2 over 2 years. And, I feel like we're in a fortunate spot where we have community partners from around the state that have been already doing the work for a couple of years. They've already been awarded these funds, and they're winding up their 2-year cycles.
So we can learn from them.
And I like the beautiful thing about our state is we're small enough where I can get on the phone and I can call the people who have been doing this, and we can have a conversation. They can share their information with us, and we can get the ball rolling a bit faster. I think that us in Nashua, we have a really unique opportunity to leverage a lot of the infrastructure that we already have in terms of people who already own homes. I think we're going to get to some of those things, but at Front Door, we already have what we call a rapid rehousing program, which is assisting individuals that are on street and car and shelter, experiencing literal homelessness, get back into housing as quickly and efficiently as possible, and being able to assist them for a prolonged period. So between like 12 and 24 months with rental assistance. So that way they can stabilize, save some money, and be able to do their thing on their own with some extra case management.
How does something like that differ from, say, like the housing voucher that people have heard about?
Yeah, so the housing choice voucher is a forever thing. So let's say, Doug receives a housing voucher. He can go speak with a landlord or property manager, and even if the apartment costs, let's say $1,500, if my income is only $1,000, if I'm on fixed income, just as a for instance, I'm only paying 30% of my income.
Yep.
But that's forever.
Okay.
Now, rapid housing is a time-sensitive thing. So the idea is to stabilize an individual, get them up on their feet, work with them so that they can maintain their housing on their own after that assistance ends. So typically for us, it's between 12 and 24 months. So, and that's something that we're going to be bringing on for our youth project as well. So we'll have rapid housing, we'll have a transitional living program where we'll be working with community landlords to figure out how we can work with youth for shorter periods of time, maybe like 6 to 8 months, to help stabilize the youth, where we can provide them case management, education services, workplace services, and then transition them into rapid rehousing if need be.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And of course, the last leg of that program, which is, I think, the one that excites me the most, I know excites you the most, is the concept of bringing a host homes program to our community.
Yeah.
So I always tell people will say all the time, there's no housing in Nashua. And my answer to that is, well, there is actually a lot of housing in Nashua. There's a lot of empty rooms in Nashua. We're an aging, kind of graying community. You're graying, I'm graying, we're all graying, but the truth is, sorry, that was harsh.
It's all right.
But the truth is that we also are in a region of the country that's getting older more rapidly than many other parts of the country. And that implies that there's a lot of empty nesters, people who have homes that were maybe great for them when their kids were at home, and now they're, sitting on some empty space, and maybe they have big hearts and want to find a way to put that to work in the community. And host homes might be really the best way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd be doing ourselves a disservice not doing it. I think we're in a state that loves to give, and sometimes I forget that. Sometimes walking around in a supermarket, some folks can be a bit standoffish, but New Hampshire is a very giving state. It's a very loving state. And I think that there's opportunity for people. This is another way for people to give back. When I was introduced to the concept of host homes, this lady who ran a program out in Washington State just kind of said, "Hey, do you have people in your community that take in college baseball players over the spring and summer to play at a local league? Do you have foreign exchange students that come through your school? Well, this is just an exchange student in your own town who just needs a spot. What's the difference?" I think that there's a lot that needs to happen in terms of our prep, so that way we make this safe and positive experience for all parties. Not just the youth but the hosts as well. Because I feel like if we don't do this the right way, we could be doing some pretty significant damage. But I think that we have the tools, we have the people that want to make this work, and I feel like we can really make some inroads in building housing opportunities for young people that might not be ready to be living on their own at this point, but. Yeah.
Well, and one of the beautiful things, as you said, we have community partners throughout the state that are already involved in programs like this. And, Waypoint is an example where they've as part of their YHDP program, have tried to stand up host homes around the state. So we can learn from them.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't have to model exactly what they do, make it fit for us, but no need to reinvent the wheel either.
No, and there's plenty of host home models from around the country, and luckily, many of them are super giving with their paperwork and their knowledge, and just want to help.
It seems like everybody in this space wants to make a difference, even if it's not in their community.
Oh yeah, no, it's super cool. The lady that I connected with years ago on Whibley, she works at a program on Whibley Island in Washington State. I mean, I remember she just said, "Hey, what's your email?" And she literally sent me all of her documents. Yeah, and cruising through it, we had opportunities over the last couple years to kind of pilot it in some ways, and we were able to use some of her paperwork and just kind of do a test run, and it works beautifully. And there's stuff in there that I love to keep, and again, just to make sure that it's a safe experience for everyone, and that we're not creating trauma for either the host or the youth.
Absolutely. So now I know that we're just getting started in all of this. Last year, we sort of spent the year finalizing the grant application and being awarded the grant and looking at how we're going to structure ourselves, and then Front Door picking up the ball and running with it, which is amazing. And now, what does the next, say, 6 months look like for you? Sort of what's your crystal ball of where we're going to be 6 months down the road?
6 months down the road, I think where we're at right now is just identifying more young people that are at risk. Really kind of putting our focus on some of our local databases. So we use a database called our Homeless Management Information System, and the idea is to identify who in a community is going through a hardship, and to make sure that we have eyes on them and to really prioritize them based on their need. And right now, my team is doing a great job at identifying young people as they get referred to us, making sure that we have their information in that database, so that when we have an opportunity to make a move for housing supports, we can make that happen, because we're not allowed to provide services to young people through this grant unless we have their identifying information in that system. So we're doing some work with that, but 6 months down the road, I would hope to have at least one young person in a host home situation, or at least having some families trained or host families trained, so that way they're ready to go when a youth is ready to make a move.
So if a person we're at that point where we can start to make referrals in the community. If a person maybe is listening or watching or knows somebody who is under the age of 25, or is it 25 and under?
Under the age of 25, if we identify them before their 25th birthday, they can turn 25 and still be eligible for a period of time, as long as we enroll them into the service before their 25th birthday. Okay.
So the 23-year-old comes along, loses their housing, gets, for whatever reason, becomes homeless, unhoused. Refer them to Doug at the Front Door Agency, refer them to 211. What do we do then? What's our first step?
Anyone can be referred to 211. So that's an easy thing to do. If the young person is in the Greater Nashua area, they're definitely free to call our agency at Front Door.
Okay. And they'll get put into then probably your first question will be about HMIS, the information system. Walk them through the process of getting their information in, and then it's the beginning of the process to find them housing, right?
So, at this point, it's, again, identify the young people, figure out what their needs are, and if this is going to be a good fit. And not every housing program that we're going to offer is going to be the best for everybody. But that's kind of where I feel like my team does a really amazing job at, just meeting someone where they're at. And even if we're not the most appropriate agency for somebody, we're going to do the right thing for
You're
them.
going to find the right people.
Absolutely. No, we're going to always do what we feel like is the best thing for them.
So bringing it back full circle, what if somebody is under the age of 18?
If somebody is under the age of 18, we're all mandated reporters. If we feel as if we need to make a report, we have to do that. That's the responsibility of everybody over the age of 18 in New Hampshire. From there, if we felt as if if we had a young person that was literally on street on their own, more than likely I'm going to have to make a report.
Right.
I would have the conversation with the youth that I have to do this. I think it's only fair. I don't think it's fair to kind of blindside somebody and say, I'm not going to do something and then go do it. That's not cool.
Yeah.
So, there aren't a whole lot of resources besides a couple of various street outreach programs around from our community partners around the state. In the Greater Nashua area, there isn't much at all for youth under the age of 18, which is unfortunate, and hopefully that changes. But we definitely still want to do the right thing for that young person.
Yeah, is some of that maybe a function of the way our state's emancipation laws work for people who are still minor?
Maybe. I mean, I definitely,
because it's not the same everywhere, right?
No, not from what I'm aware of. No.
Yeah.
That's something that the emancipation laws in New Hampshire is definitely something that I'm just going to be frank. I need to definitely brush up on that piece.
I think we all do.
It hasn't necessarily been on my mind in a little bit since I've been out of the school space, but definitely for those over the age of 18 and over, this is what we have, this is what we can provide, and this is what we're going to have to focus on.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting work that you're doing, Doug. We've been talking about addressing youth homelessness systematically for a long time now. Sometimes it feels like way too long have we been talking and way too short have we been doing. Yeah. And it's pretty exciting that we're actually moving into getting some work done. So I appreciate your stick-to-itedness with this issue. I think you've been kind of the conscience of our community in many ways on this subject.
I appreciate it. I mean, it's definitely something that has meant a lot to me coming into the community, and I hope that we take the ball and run with it.
Speaking of taking the ball and running with it, I know you have other things that you do for fun, like coaching baseball.
Yeah.
What got you into this work, Doug?
Social work. I was working for the Concord School District. I was at their alternative high school, Second Start, for a little bit, and then in the spring I saw a job posting at it's now called Waypoint. It was Child Family Services at the time, and I was fortunate enough to get a job at the street outreach program there, doing outreach with young people ages 12 to 22 years old, and it was a life-changing experience for me. Working with young people that were super vulnerable and with what they had going on, but it was it taught me a lot, and it forced me to grow up a lot. I think I was at that point where I needed to grow up a little bit and realize that not everything is about me. But that was it was a great experience, and it got me around people who taught me a lot about the social work space, and I had some great mentors in that area, and I was fortunate to run into school liaisons who have been doing the work for years, social workers who've been working with youth experiencing homelessness for years, and I feel like I just had some really amazing folks who gave their time to me that they didn't necessarily have to, and I just feel very blessed that that they spent that kind of time with me to make sure that I was better, so that we could all be better working with this population. So
Yeah, it's great. Sometimes you fall into something and then you have people around you who kind of give you that support and see that, well, they probably all said, oh, Doug needs to go in this direction. Let's all team up and help him to get there. It was behind the scenes. Everybody did that.
Maybe, but at the end of the day, I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love the communities that I get to work with. And again, New Hampshire's small, so
Yeah.
we got our people all around the state that do this work, and we're all on the same team. We're all trying to accomplish the same goal, which is to end homelessness in general. This money that's coming to our community here in Nashua is going to be really powerful in getting that moving.
Are there ways in which the community can get involved in supporting this work beyond, just knowing and being generally supportive? Are there specific things people can do to help out?
I think, honestly, even just going out and supporting the people that are doing the work, go to the galas, go support United Way, go support Front Door Agency, go support Marguerite's Place, all of our community partners that are, again, we're all in this together. I think that the more community kind of like galvanizes together around something like this, the bigger of an impact we're going to have.
I agree with that. Thank you, Doug. Look, we're out of time. It just flew by. It's amazing. But I just wanted to express my appreciation to you.
No doubt.
Our community is blessed to have you doing this work. It's great. And of course you get a hat.
Whoa.
Because you came on the show, right? I know you're a hat guy.
Yeah.
And it helps out with the with the gray hair.
I know. And the farmer's tan too, man.
So appreciate you, man. So you've been listening to Living United with Nashua Business. Today I've been interviewing Doug Howard with the Front Door Agency, talking about youth homelessness, the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project, and the work that he and the Front Door are doing. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, please be kind to each other, because great things really do happen when we live united.